So we're ready. All right, Friday. We're on the once a month schedule here. It seems, just whenever we darn well feel like it, do a podcast. Is that the schedule?
That's how it goes.
I'm a busy fella, building stuff, organizing, selling stuff. Sold my Acura exhaust. Just installed it on his car. That was pretty sweet. Took about an hour and a half to do that.
That's not bad.
Yeah,
You've gotten pretty good at that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, Mike did 90% of it, so it works out great.
That helps.
Yeah. Super easy install, though. Yeah, so that was $8,000 sitting on the shelf. I had to move that because that was part of the other, whatever it's called, the mistake of buying an M3. I did buy another car though, just to make you happy. So, I found the car for Helen. It's a Cayman GTS, the GTS 4.0. I got an allocation for it, so I did it in PDK, white, black wheels. Can't get carbon ceramics, so I'll do surface transform rotors on it when it comes, and probably signature wheels, and it'll be perfect for there. That's exactly what I needed. And I'd rather get a GT4 or a GT3, but I don't want to pay $50,000, $20,000 premium for a car that is going to be worth a lot less than that. So I think the way to go is I wanted to spec it the way I wanted to spec it, so get a new car that's mine, fresh. I mean, that car could have 40,000 miles on it, being great, in great position. So I think that's a great Helen car until, if 2016 GT3 RS has fallen price, and if I get back to driving a lot, then I'd sell the Cayman or do a giveaway on that or something, and then get a GT3 for there. So that's the plan. It just feels much better to me. It's much better suited. I don't, everybody's like, people keep commenting, well, what about families? I'm telling you, you don't want to take your family ripping the Richard B. Russell. You want to be there by yourself so you don't kill your whole family.
Throw the kids in the back seat.
Right? No, you don't. I'm telling you, you don't want to do that. You want it. You'll rent a car. You can go cruise around with the family in the rental car. And then if you're a big car guy and you're from somewhere else where you're not going to bring your car, and you want to go rip the GT the GTS, then you take one person with you or your buddy with you. But the fact you're going to load up your 6-person family in an M3 was part of the reason why I didn't love that idea of that car. So I also thought I was hoping I would fall in love with the M3, at least like it enough that it was, since it wasn't my main car, but I had no interest. All I could picture being in the mountains is I should be in a Porsche, instead of the M3. So that was the plan. So the GT4 is at $113,000, something like that. So it's roughly same price as the M3. I'll just get a loan, make monthly payments, and then we'll probably have a couple of people a month that rent it, and that'll largely cover the cost of the car. And so that's the plan. So I have to then put together, what's a reasonable amount of mileage that would be, because some people would go up there and drive 2,000 miles. I mean, they should have to pay more than somebody's going to go drive a couple of times, So, figure out what's an appropriate amount of mileage for the car and what's an appropriate price. And I think I'll probably have some different tiers. If somebody just wants to have it to wash it and experience it, maybe it's $1,000. If somebody wants to really go up to the tail of the Dragon and do those kind of things, and maybe we have a little higher mileage limit or something like that. But it's going to be set up on signature wheels. I'll do it has Burmester, which is cool. Set up an awesome audio system. I'd prefer a manual personally, but PDK would be great there. So it's going to be, I think, a good experience for people.
Yeah, I saw that the email with the spec sheet show up, and I told Joe I'm getting jaded now because I looked at the total. I was like, oh, that's not so bad.
Not too bad, yeah. Right.
It's like, oh man.
Yeah. Well, this car theoretically will depreciate it and then sell some weeks, and so it'll pay for itself. And then I get the content of detailing it and putting PPF on it, and then I have a car that's up there. It's going to be cool.
Let's see. Mr. Schnell says, hey, Matt, I know you aren't an American car guy, but
no, definitely not.
I just picked up a CT4V Blackwing manual, and you would love it.
No, I absolutely would not.
It's the spiritual successor to the E39 M5 with great suspension, brake, steering, transmission.
I bet you it has a terrible suspension. It probably has all solid steel arms and garbage. I have zero interest. It's a freaking Chevy. There's no way it's any good.
So sorry,
It's got
Mr.
a stupid
Snell.
Cadillac grill. Yeah. Good luck,
There you go.
everybody.
All right.
Yeah, stupid headlights, little baby wheels, little brakes. It's just not good. It's a freaking Corvette sedan. Yeah, I know everybody loves those things, or wants to love it, but no. Look at it. It looks like your freaking LS 400.
I have an LS 430.
Whatever.
30 times better.
No thanks.
Oh,
I bet you that stupid Cadillac grill probably has 4 holes in it too, so you probably can't even take it off. Look at that thing. That's so stupid.
So there you go, Mr. Snell.
Sorry.
You are.
Sorry to insult your entire existence, but I would hope that you didn't tie your existence to Chevy, because that's a bad move. Bad move.
I'm glad he enjoys it. If Matt doesn't,
I don't care. I'm not glad.
Mr. Schnell enjoys his car. Let him have his car. Anthony Savigny says, "Thanks for the tour on Monday. I missed Matt though, but the team is great." Thanks, Anthony.
I was in Helensville, yeah.
We had a ton of people here this week.
It's spring break.
Oh.
Yeah, but I had the darn countertop. We had it all worked out, and then they showed up, and it was 3 inches short.
Mm.
Like the main piece, the piece that has like a 12-inch overhang. That's the counter for the the counter that you would sit at, and they cut it 3 inches short, and there was no way you could like cut a sliver in. So they had to go try to source another piece and then cut it correctly.
Bradley Odette says, "Hey Matt, I noticed the wall-mounted PF 22.2 during the Adam LZ video.
Yeah.
Is that something that will be available in the store?
Yep.
Any concerns with the weight of the bottle being head on the quarter-inch plug?
No, because it's even loaded. I mean, it's not a big deal, because I mean, your quick disconnect can easily hold that. So yeah, not a problem.
Let's see. Addison Jordan wants to know, hey Matt, how do you clean your MacBook Pro?
I use waffle weave towel and usually invisible glass. If it's real greasy, then I'll use Angel Wax Vision. So generally, I'll just blow out the keyboard with which you're not supposed to do, but I do anyway. Just hold it upside down and blow it out with if I had to, which is very rare. And then I just spray the darn screen with a glass cleaner, and it runs everywhere, and you just race to get it wiped off. And so that keep you from scratching. Just use glass cleaner and a nice microfiber towel.
Dan Pfeiffer says, hello from a sunny but cold Minnesota. Happy Friday, OG crew. Thanks for your hospitality when I visited this week. Yeah, he was here on Monday too.
Lots of people here.
Yeah. Harley 17, Matt, have you looked at Singer Porsche as you look at Roof as an option?
No, I don't like Singer. I don't like what everybody else likes. I don't like the style. I get it, and it's cool, but I would never want one. Roof is just much more understated. It looks like you're buying a 964 from the 90s or 80s. So it looks like you're buying like an actual air-cooled car that's I don't know. I just think it's a more factory look to me than the Singer is more of a wannabe rich look to me. I guess not wannabe, real rich look. Yeah, I mean, Singer's going to have a real potential problem, and I don't think that they're really allowed to do what they're doing. And Porsche's just kind of turned a blind eye to these companies. But at some point, as more and more come on board, you got Gunther Works, you got Roof. Roof's been as sort of a semi-relationship with Porsche. Basically, Porsche just ignores them, because they're little and not really doing anything. But I think a lot of these companies have a real potential problem in the future. About I was talking to my friend Bob about this, who knows a lot about this stuff, and he was saying that technically it's not legal what they're doing, from a crash test rate safety rating thing, and so I'm sure they've thought through this, but I'm just not a huge fan of those. Roof was just really appealed to me because it was a really simple car without a lot of extra fluff.
AFH says, hey, Matt, did the Bears destroy the new outdoor kitchen yet?
No.
In all seriousness, those bears aren't going away. Even more now that you installed a giant vent to push out more food smells into the woods.
That's true.
They come looking for you.
Yeah. They're part of the woods. It's part of the deal. You know.
Kevin Nickens says, hey, Matt, I'm only using a single source PS5 for my Sony TV.
Mm-hmm.
Should I run HDMI into my receiver, then HDMI out to the display, or should I just run HDMI from the source to the TV, then EARC to the receiver?
I'm not sure if the PS5 has CEC control. I've gone away from running HDMI through the receiver because then that's an easy way to introduce handshake problems. Where the HDMI won't communicate properly. Most new, especially modern, Japanese receivers are pretty good at this. At handling the handoff, the handshake and stuff. But if I have the choice, I would rather run it through the TV. And now with eARC, which is lossless audio transfer, you can easily transfer the audio through eARC back to the receiver. So I'm doing it kind of opposite. I really can't see any other disadvantage to doing it that way. Your remotes tend to work better. Everything turns on when you turn one device on. So I prefer running it through the TV now, which I've never done until maybe the last year. The other thing we've been thinking about, my friend John, who's an ISF calibrator, if I can start to get dealership agreements set up with TV manufacturers. I mean, it would be really cool. He was to be able to sell, ISF calibrated TVs. Now, you're best calibrating a display in the room that it's in after it's broken in. But next best thing would be to have it calibrated and sent to you. I would buy that for sure. I think it'd be a really cool idea. So. If I can become a Sony and LG dealer, that would be really something unique that we can offer.
Kevin follows up by saying, also, the PS5 is way better than an Apple TV as a source, even just for watching movies and shows. Menus are better, the media remote is better, the user interface crushes Apple TV.
Yeah, I haven't messed with the PS5. I'm sure the quality is probably better, but I don't know about the interface. If it's anything like Sony's Android software on their TV, it's freaking garbage. So yeah, I'm not. But if you're used to PS5, then and you play it all the time, then I could see that. But I can't imagine it being much better than the Apple user interface. Just super simple.
Brandon says, for newlywed couple, not trying to spend an arm and a leg, but can get away with spending a few pennies, what would you suggest for home audio, TV audio, and casual music while hanging out?
I would still head down the receiver path, right? So you want a receiver and then speakers. There's lots and lots of good, entry-level speakers depending on your taste. PSB would, now knowing what I know and having played with so many different speakers in the entry level, I would really consider doing something from PSB. And then spend a little more money on the receiver. So the NAD PSB option is really pretty awesome. So you want the PSB alphas, and then I think they have a center channel. I haven't gone down that path. Let me look. What was PSB's? Because I've only done the PSB bookshelf stuff.
Alpha C Center. That sound familiar?
Yeah. Yep. So that's what I would. So if you're looking to keep, that's discontinued.
Discontinued.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Let me just look here. I want to know now. PSB, PSB speakers.
PSB Imagine XC.
Yeah, but I don't like the Imagine line very much. Let's see here with this is really good radio here we're doing.
Well, while you're doing that, I'll read a comment. This is not a question. This is from Bob. No question this week. Just wanted to give a big shout out to the Obsessed Garage team. While on vacation this week, I was able to visit OG and get an in-depth tour and shop the warehouse. Janet and Chris, yes, were super friendly and welcoming. Ian was a great tour guide. It was nice being able to hang out with everyone and see Matt, Mike, and Tommy in action. I highly recommend it. Yeah, he was here yesterday. He's from up in Canada. Thanks, Bob. Glad you stopped by.
Yeah. This will be sweet. So
What'd you find?
do an NAD T758. So spend the money on the receiver. And then you'd have Blue OS capability. The 758, we have those. I can get you all this stuff if you want. It would help me help you. Yeah. So the receiver is like $1,700. So not cheap, but it's a pretty stout receiver. And then you would do the PSP towers, which are, and I do the Alpha. So the Alpha T20s, they're $850 a pair, which is pretty freaking cheap. And then you do their their C10 center, which is $450. And then we would use like P3s as your rears, or P5s if you can swing it. Those are the bookshelves. And then but don't buy the PSP subwoofer. Then we'd get you, depending on how much money we could spend. I would want like an SB2000 SVS subwoofer, and that would frickin' rip and sound great for music, great for movies, for all listening types. And it's just so much more sophisticated than going down the route of like Klipsch or something like that. It's just a much, much better speaker. Not build quality wise, they're kind of cheap looking, but the sound quality is just really incredible. Way better than like SVS speakers or some of these other the speaker, the actual, the tweeters and woofers are just so much better.
Greg Robinson wants to know, are you still planning to do an NSX as a giveaway car one day?
Yeah, probably.
What about an R8 or new Aston Vantage?
Probably not.
All right. George wants to know, Maddie, do you use a protein powder or do you just get it from food?
If I do, I do off and on, but I like Progenics. The Progenics Recovery is, I think, the best protein I've ever had.
Peanut butter smash.
Yeah, that one I think I went to. It's kind of like Chipotle. I went too hard on it when it first came out. I don't love it as much as I used to. It has to be really cold, but I just like the chocolate version.
Morgan Butler wants to know, hey Matt, what are your thoughts on metal garage / carports for storage and car washing versus a pole barn?
Yeah, I mean, I think it can work really well. I mean, especially with all the tech that you can incorporate into a metal building. You can even do like the metal interior, which I think looks really good. Like the Morton would be a brand that does them. I think they're great. So you do red iron. So you do the red iron frame, and then they come in. They generally build the building, and then they come in and you pour the slab after the fact. They're super sturdy, high wind resistance. Generally, at least they used to be less money. I don't know if they are anymore. But yeah, I love that idea. If I was going to build a standalone garage, I'd highly consider it. Like if I had a lot of property or something.
K Muniz 78 says, hey man, I picked up a 2020 GT4 with LWB and PCCBs. Delivery should be next week.
Nice.
What's LWB?
Lightweight buckets.
Okay.
Seats.
Jason Knight says that's a great choice for your GTS. White is the best color for the sunny south.
Yeah.
Barbecue Jones, that's Gary who won the giveaway.
Oh yeah, what's he doing? When's he coming?
He says, "Hey everyone." I don't know. Have you not?
I haven't nailed it down with him yet. He has to pick a time. Yeah.
All right, Gary, figure out a plan. We'll get you down here.
Yeah.
He's from Arizona, I think. Let's see. Matt Radford, he was quoting you here. Some guys would go drive 2,000 miles. He said, "This is true. I am that guy."
Yeah, I mean, I don't begrudge anybody. I think it'd be really cool. I've done it, where not 2,000 miles in the mountains, but driving there, driving back, and in the mountains. I think it's like 500 miles, so you'd have 1,000 miles driving around the mountains. But put 2,000 miles on $115,000, $110,000 car. If everybody does that, it can't be $1,000. There's just too much depreciation rolling on that sucker. So if somebody wanted to do that, I'd just have to help me pay for it.
Rogue says, I missed a couple E36 videos. What happened with the BBSs?
They didn't fit. I was going to have to really modify the fenders, and they were poking too much in the front. I had to run a 10 millimeter spacer just to clear the caliper. So I just wasn't interested in doing all the work that I had to do to make them fit. So I sold them to Sean at PSI.
Andrew says, any progress with finding a DI alternative to CR Spotless?
Oh yeah. We're we're deep into it. So we should have a system, at some point this year. I'm getting Joe is working on all the resin stuff. So we were working on the flow rate of our valve, because all these DI systems have plastic valves, and so I want to have metal ones, bypass valves. So the CR doesn't have bypass valves at all. So we've actually, I think they just shot the video today. We've made like a bypassed version, like a pre-built kit for the CR for portable applications, and then we're gonna make our own at some point.
All right, Harrison Neville says, "Hey Matt, if you ever need any new sneakers, let me know and I'll take care of you."
I just gave all mine to Ryan. Mm-hmm. What I need is some of those sneaker subscribers. Is what I need.
Say, I clicked on him.
You need to get him set up, and he wants to go to Helen.
He's a sneaker guy.
We need to get him set up to get there. The problem is we don't have a week until like November. But yeah, he needs to go there, and he'll love it.
Oh, yeah, he's got lots of subscribers. That's cool.
Yeah.
I got to show you my new shoes here in a second. You might like these. Our good buddy Brian out in California, Brian Deal. He made it today. Welcome back,
nice.
Good to
Where's he
have you
been?
with us.
Has he been
I don't know,
checking
working for once?
Has he been still checking our work?
Oh, yeah. Mr. Schnell, your Cadillac buddy.
Okay, what's he saying?
He says, "Ha ha ha! I have 3 Porsches too." So.
See, I like it when people they don't develop their self-worth from their car. Like, you could tell me my E92 sucks. I just okay. In many ways, it does, especially if it doesn't tickle your fancy, So I like it when people can take it like a man.
Their LS400.
Yeah.
Let's see. Bob Vandersand says, "Speaking of Burmester audio, do you think the Bowers & Wilkins is worth the upgrade over the Harman in a BMW?"
Yeah, probably, but isn't it B&O in BMW though? It's Bang & Olufsen generally. It generally is, but I found the best stock systems either Mark Levinson in Range Rover or the Burmester in Porsches. The Burmester is just really simple. It says decent, okay drivers and okay amplifier and a decent little subwoofer. It just, you can always destroy it with quality aftermarket stuff, but who wants to do all that tearing the car apart? I don't.
Sunny Kohler says, "What is the best all-around tire for the E92? Main concern is rain/hydroplaning, not lap times."
Yeah, I think PS4S is the best overall. It's decent in the rain, decent in the summer, decent in the dry. It's the best tire for every application. Cup 2s certainly wouldn't be, and I don't think they make Cup 2s in the right sizes for the E92.
There you go. Like one of shoes.
Some Metcon 7s.
No, these are
8s.
8s.
8s by you.
8, yeah.
Yeah, nice job. Put your name on there.
Yeah, I got my name on it.
Nice. Yeah.
Back in the day when I first did it, they wouldn't put my last name on there for me because it was a name brand.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they told me they're not going to put another name brand on their shoes, so I had to convince them otherwise.
Nice.
Yeah. Lewis approved these.
They're really good.
Yeah, I like them.
Good shoes.
The only issue, Jeff Johnson, our buddy, needs to take note. On my other ones, the laces lock has a place where it rests down here.
What is the point of that laces lock?
Well, then you lock it in, it doesn't come untied.
My shoes never come on. Just double knot them.
Well, yeah, you could do that. But that sounds like something you would say a third grader does.
I don't like the lace lock thing.
I like it. But I want it to stay down here. Otherwise, when I tie it, it comes...
Yeah.
It slaps me when I'm trying to tie my shoes.
I'm trying to tie it, and it punches up and gets in the way. I don't want that thing.
Let's see. TG says, "Hey, Matt, I just picked up an M340i with the laser lights.
Okay.
Do you know anyone that can reprogram the lights to Eurospec, anti-dazzle, I think it's called?"
Yeah, go to alpinemss.com, and he can get you set up.
Anti-dazzle. Let's see. Brandon wants to know, "Hey, Matt, are you going to look into Shine Supply's new glass coating?"
Maybe, but I don't really see. I don't have a problem with my current glass coating, but yeah, maybe there was some other glass coating that I was looking at recently. Forget who had it. Yeah, maybe. I'm going to be trying a lot of stuff here coming up as this year, as I'm pretty darn close to getting things organized. Although I'm going to build the wash bay, which will pull my attention away, but.
All right, Jose wants to know, "Hey, Matt, I saw in Active's YouTube channel that they're going to offer a shotgun. Is OG looking to test and perhaps add it to the store?"
We were sort of a little bit of the part of the development. I don't really like it, so I don't think we'll carry it. It's and it's not as cheap as we thought it was going to be. So I don't think we'll carry it. It'll sit in between like the MTM, I think, and the Mosmatic. But you can try one, I guess, if you wanted to. But I mean, I think the Mosmatic is just so far out in front of everybody; it'd be really hard to ever consider anything else.
All right, Brian Schwab has a suggestion here for you on cleaning your MacBook Pro. He says, ouch, LCD cleaner is what you want to use. There are chemicals in glass cleaner that over time will strip the surface coating on anything outside of a PC screen, Retina display on MacBook.
I haven't had a problem.
Let's see. Or just never clean it, that you don't have to worry about it. Al Daly says, I have my brother's 2015 M3 in my garage. It's been a chore trying to get this 8-year-old gem dialed in. It has never been polished or properly washed. Any suggestions?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to book a weekend and a couple of, 16-hour days and go get it, You don't want to decon it, clay it, polish it, do the whole thing, probably multi-step polishing. You're going to want microfiber cutting pads and probably some Sonax Cut Max or something like that, or maybe the new Rupes cutting, the blue formula, blue polish, and then finish with perfect finish.
Let's see. Barbecue Jones, our winner, says, are the Dynaudio speakers sold on the OG site good for indoor rooms in the house or best for garage setups?
Oh, no, they're great everywhere. I mean, I freaking have them all over the place. But, yeah, they're speakers made for, home theaters and two-channel listening environments. So they're made for, like, regular listening. I'm just putting them in the garage, which they have no business being in. So, yeah, they're for home use for sure.
There you go. So he's doing research. He's ready to spend his $10,000.
Yeah, good.
Brian wants to know, hey, Matt, do you have any plans on testing Rupes Reveal? It's strong/light.
Yeah, I'd like to get a hold of those too. They're it's like Carpro Eraser or Panel Wipe. It's a panel wipe
prep
type. Yeah.
All right. And then he also says the Apple TV interface on the new Gen 3 Apple TVs is amazing. Super fast.
Yeah.
Joseph wants to know, how does CSU compare to CSL? Is it a noticeable difference or is it a marketing gimmick?
It's just more durable. Will last quite a bit longer. It is a bit finickier, a little harder to install. As far as look, it's not quite as slick as CSL, but still very slick. Yeah, I just think it would come down to longevity. It will last a lot longer it's really great on wheels, so it'll last really long on wheels. But I think that CSL holds its own, but it's not a marketing gimmick. It is legitimately better, just more durable, longer lasting.
Scott Willis wants to know, since you love the Raptor, would you ever consider an electric F-150?
I mean, we considered it, but probably not. I mean, I don't like buying things from companies that are kind of half in. So I think that I would consider it if it was really easy to get and readily available, but they're not. So yeah, I'm not interested in playing the game. But it would be interesting, I think. But we're going to try the Rivian. The Rivian, I think, is cooler.
All right, let's see. Warren Barnhart IV says, hey, Matt, I live here in Helen.
Mm-hmm.
Tried a new place that just opened.
Mm-hmm.
I think you've actually been here.
Yep.
Called Bangkok House, authentic Thai sushi.
Yeah, we ate there like 4 times when we were there.
I saw that name pop up.
Yeah.
It's the German Thai. He said you should definitely try it when you visit. Way better than Spice 55.
Yeah, it's sad. Spice 55 is toast.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. I bet you they poached half of the cooks from the original Spice 55. Yeah, we went there. Maybe it was 3 times. Molly's is the place, though.
Molly's?
Yeah, Molly.
What?
Oh, it's so good. It's like Southern.
Oh, okay.
Man. I went there. I ordered one of every appetizer. It's delicious. And then chicken parm, chicken marsala. Yeah. Man, it's like old school, like Southern delicious cooking, And Molly comes and sits at your table with you for a few minutes and gets to know you. He used to be the mayor of Helen.
I remember seeing the video.
Yeah.
That's cool. Dune Wild says, have you ever considered an upfitted truck? Waldock vehicles are upfitted vehicles with interior suspension, etc., and still hold a manufacturer's warranty.
No, Aren't those like $200,000-$300,000 or something like that?
Let's see.
These are isn't he talking about? Aren't they like
Sure. This must be a different one.
prepper battle prepped,
Oh,
like bulletproof windows and
yeah,
stuff? Or am
I
I
don't know.
thinking of something else?
I don't know. That looks.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. No, it looks just
Yeah.
like cheesed out. So no.
Rampage.
No.
This isn't. This year's slightly douched.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
these are just slightly douched bolt-ons. No, I thought he was talking about like these ones where you like buy it where it's like full Armageddon proofed. Those are cool.
Oh, good stuff. Let's see here. Any updates on EXO version 5? About to polish and recoat my Raptor that lived outside for a few years since the last coating and didn't know if it was worth waiting for V5.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything yet, but it's coming. It's great.
All right, Harrison wants to know, are you going to the Smokies GT3 trip in the spring?
No, I still can't drive, and I don't have a car to take. My touring is not for that. My touring is for, caressing and
Leisurely
coveting. Yeah.
trips to the
To
cigar
If
bar.
I'm lucky to Publix, yeah. I'd love to go. It's freaking life changing, but I still can't drive. So I don't know what's going to change, but someday.
Have you ever tried air freshener from Starnaglass? It actually lasts compared to how quick Angel Wax scent leaves the interior.
No, I haven't.
Doesn't Rag Company have that stuff?
Yeah.
Starnaglass? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Something about that stuff doesn't appeal to me.
Paul Sanchez wants to know, when are you getting an air-cooled Porsche?
Probably never. The only thing I would get would be like a roof that's like a resto-modded water-cooled version.
Hey, Matt, this is from Dylan. I'm pursuing a master's in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm nearing completion and trying every avenue to find a job/internship, but I'm having trouble getting my foot in the door. Any advice or tips?
What would a master's in real estate entail? I mean, isn't it pretty simple stuff?
So I was thinking, just
Be
go
interesting.
get your
Yeah.
license.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
The other thing I don't understand is why would any realtor go through a broker? Just become a frickin' broker. I guess the risk, they don't want to deal with their own business. But so if I was a realtor, if I was in purchasing real estate, I would get my real estate license, which any monkey can get. It's like the simplest test in the world. I love it when people are like, "Congratulations, you passed." It's like frickin', you could show up and take it. In 5 seconds, anybody could pass it. And then you get a broker's license. I guess maybe it costs a lot to get it or something. I don't even think it does. I think it's a couple grand. You take the broker's test. Man, if I would be such a good realtor.
Be like, this house sucks. You know what?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Realtors don't know anything. They don't know anything about money. They don't know anything about mortgages. They don't know anything about about construction. Like if I was going to be in real estate, involved in real estate, I'd be able to build a house from scratch if I wanted to. I'd want to know everything there was to know about building, construction. Be crawling around an attic for my customers and saying, "Look, this is the problem. You don't need a freaking inspection. I'll just do it for you and tell you what's wrong." I would learn everything about plumbing, all about all this stuff. It'd almost be too easy. And then you've got to pick a place that has high-end real estate because you don't want to be selling frickin' $180,000 garbage. This the other day I was every time I get suckered into watching House Hunters. You ever watch that show? House Hunters on HGTV. It could be the greatest show of all time, and yet they want it to be diverse and they want it to be the everyman. Right, and so they put a bunch of ugly people looking at cheap houses. It's like the stupidest thing ever. You need to get good-looking people looking at fancy houses. That's what you want.
Right.
And the diverse would come in different areas of the country where you get to see different types of construction, different types of styles, have diverse styles in modern French country or farmhouse versus craftsman, and none of this. Like they're looking in Rhode Island at these garbage 100-year-old houses that have 7-foot tall ceilings, and it's just so stupid. So just like if you're going to be a realtor, become an expert. And then the part I would struggle with would be the negotiation part. Be like, what's the problem here? You pay the price that person's asking. What are we dancing around here for? Or, hey, this house is junk. Here's what it's worth. And I'd be an appraiser as well. Why not? Do it all. I'd do the appraisal. I would do the inspection. I would do I'd be the realtor and the broker.
Wow.
I wouldn't have to give anybody any of the money because I'm generating all the money, right?
Yeah.
By involving the people. Actually, the people are generating all the money. The people buying the house. This would be freaking awesome. This is my backup plan. The problem is I couldn't do it here so I'd have a driver and we'd just sit in the back and we'd drive around and I'd talk to you about the house and we'd, your limit is 4 houses. So we got to do the work up front because I'm not going to show you 50 houses if you're a Hyman and Hahn and all this bull crap. And you got to be a freaking buyer. Let's go. You got to buy the house. Let's do it. So anyway, back to his question about masters in real estate. It sounds to me like you're preparing to do something that you don't need anything to do. You just show up and anybody could do it. But understand amortization, understand, and why not? Why don't you just become a mortgage broker too while you're at it and just originate the mortgage, do the whole freaking thing. I would have every part of the business, title agency. I would own it all. Why wouldn't you? Why would you be referring out and then you'd get subpar service? Might as well have an attorney's office too, so you can do title work, and especially if you're getting into commercial real estate stuff like that.
Oh man!
Then you start a civil engineering agency, so you could you start building properties and and then you might as well start retailing products and have your own interior design firm. There's so much possibility in this. I should start doing this. I've thought about getting my real estate
time
license
right now.
Yeah, I should get my darn real estate license. It would save me so much money.
I'll
and then
drive
get
your car.
registered. Can you have a license in every state? Why not?
I don't know. I would think so.
Yeah. Is that a little too much? A little too aggressive
Just
on the old
one-stop shop.
house hunters nonsense? Going to look at 1,200 square foot apartments. Who wants to watch that? I want to watch someone looking at a freaking mansion with some cool stuff. But I want it to be like that. I want it to be authentic on that show isn't authentic at all. But when you watch the real estate shows in Los Angeles and stuff and New York, it's just bull crap. It's a freaking joke because anybody who's looking at anything any good is not going to be on TV. They don't want to be. It's all staged, bunch of nonsense.
Yokin wants to know, when is your Lotus Emira coming?
Yeah, I don't know. Never. Yeah, I mean, I have the deposit down, but they keep pushing back. I think they've pushed back anybody getting one. So
Noble Armo says, what's the deal with those tire savers that you previewed?
I was watching a video of some dude on YouTube who there's a lot of these guys getting into rich guys that are in business, and then they hire a videographer and then they start making videos, and they usually get a pretty decent following pretty quickly because they have a lot of nice cars. He had talked about these flat stoppers from this company, Superior Oso, or I forget the name of it. They're much different than I thought. They're made of a specific type of foam. They were $800, so they're real expensive. But I wanted to try them out. You park on them, and then theoretically, because if you have a lot of cars, sometimes they'll sit for weeks on end, and so you need to park or not get flat spots. And I never really liked the idea of the race ramp ones. Look a little cheesy. So these seemed a bit more interesting. It's basically like a hard or a semi-hard foam that you pull on that kind of compresses and allows you to contour to the tire. It's a pretty interesting idea. And, I guarantee they're lots of money because they're big and bulky and they have to import them. So they probably only cost a few bucks to make. But just like the ramps that we have, I mean, they're hard to get. It's called Superior Lupo?
Squadra
Lupo.
Squadra Lupo Import.
Yeah.
That's an interesting looking car there, though. Looks like something Bryce would get.
That's dumb, yeah.
The Peugeot 205 Turbo 16. Let's see. Oh, Barbecue Jones, Gary. He says he's looking at mid to late May. We'll get with you soon on coming for the shopping spree.
Cool.
So, Henry says, "Hey Matt, check out Carnivore Aurelius, high nutrient content and better than protein powder."
Interesting. I'll check it out.
Search that.
But does it taste like crap?
Let's see. Brandon wants to know, curious what you think about professionally installed in-wall fish tanks in a new construction home.
I don't like that. Unless you're like diehard fish person, and if I was, I wouldn't like want it displayed. I just think it's kind of, I don't know, it's just not my style. You know, because when you have it like front and center, when you're battling something or you're reacclimating the tank and it gets all cloudy and you're constantly have to work on it. You know, I've seen like lots of these people have built it where like you go to the second story and you like open up the floor because when you walk in, I don't know. I just don't like the style of that. If I was into that, I would build a room in the back, you know, not try to display it so much in the front. But, you know, some could say the same thing about speakers and stuff like that. If you're really into it, then I could certainly see why you would want to display it and set it up. And I'm sure there's some people that are obsessed with it that actually do a good job with it, but most people that do it are freaking janking it together, you know. So, not really my thing, but, you know, I could understand it for sure.
Now here's your Carnivore Aurelius. You have beef liver that finally tastes good and steak crisps.
Interesting.
It looks like all that.
Yeah, I bought that other stuff and I ate like one bag. It's just kind of a little bit gross.
Beef liver crisps.
Yeah, what was the one that I bought? I forget.
Yours was like snacks.
Carnivore Snacks.
Yeah, S-N-A-X.
And I tried it, and it just had a little bit of a gross taste to it. I just couldn't do it. Unfortunately, I bought like $400 worth of it and only ate like half of one bag. And then I bring it in and gave it to all the guys. They probably threw it away. Yeah.
Joseph says, "Did you like any of the Griot stuff that you used when Adam LZ was over here?"
Nothing new. I like the idea of the machines for entry level, the G9 or the G13 and the G8, or I think it is. G15 and G13. To give us a pathway to like entry level polishing, because Rupes is not entry level. So I like the idea of that. I'd love to have the leather interior scent, which is just this, just nostalgic for me. But like nothing earth shattering. The foam cannon's okay. You know, people are a little bit crazy, but it's not that much better. But the foam cannon's interesting to me. MTM has some new foam cannon stuff coming out at some point, I think. So I'm kind of waiting to see what happens there. But I've been playing phone tag with them about carrying some stuff.
Go back to the tire flat stopper things real quick. Craig wants to know, could you integrate the flat stoppers into the Swiss tracks rather than having them sit on top?
Yeah, I mean, if I was going to use them all the time, I'd just cut the Swiss tracks. The problem with these is that it's foam, so they're going to get nasty. I don't think they're going to last forever. So really, I think these are like the pretty version in that I'm going to wipe my tires down, like the actual face of the tire, and I'm only going to put them in a place where I'm like going to leave a car for months, which I don't know that I'm going to do.
Let's see. James Collop says, finally started the garage build, got everything cleaned and painted. Trim is white, walls are Harbor gray. Do I paint the ceiling black or leave it white?
I like it white, but
personal.
I just think that the black gives you a little feels like you have more space. It makes the room feel taller, even though it's kind of weird. Like it just takes the ceiling out of the equation, really. I just don't love the black ceiling. For me personally, I would rather have white.
All right, let's see. Rob wants to know, does a shelf-mounted Active 2.0 need to be secured to the shelf?
I don't think so. It's light enough. I don't think we've come up with any kind of way to fix it to the shelf. I mean, if it for some reason vibrated off, it's going to hang from the hoses, so it's not going to hit the ground. And the hoses are way more stout than the machine is, so I don't think it really needs it. It's not going anywhere.
Steve Rose wants to know, hey Matt, what do you use on exterior plastics like mud flaps and matte trim pieces?
I always coat them with CSL and then EXO. So clean them. Unfortunately, you can't get it anymore. But I always clean and prep them with Meguiar's M39. If they're chalky or white or getting old looking, then you would then treat it with solution finish. We need to get that in the store, and then you would coat them with CSL XO. CSL first, and then a couple coats XO.
All right, back to your BMW sound question here. Peter says, Bowers & Wilkins system is nice. An option, it's worth it for BMW. They do run B&O in some models. I guess not all of them.
I didn't know they had any B&W stuff in B&W in BMW. Trying to think of any car that maybe it's new. Maybe they just added them. Oh, obviously they hate Harman Kardon stuff has always been a thing. But I didn't know they had any B&W stuff. I've never been a B&W fan. I always thought they sounded thin. The brands that everybody likes are B&W and Focal, and I don't like either one of them. Sold both of them. Just never owned any of them. Never had any desire to own any of them. Just not my the sound their sound signature is just so much brighter and thinner to me, and personally to my ear.
Frank Venezia says, have you thought about dabbling with landscape lighting? So many of the big box store items are garbage, and solar seems to lack brightness and consistency.
Yeah. I've gone down that rabbit hole a couple of times, but I never executed on anything. I forget the brand that I was looking at. It starts with a V. That an OG follower who used to do that kind of architecture design turned me on to, but I never actually bought any of it.
All right, our buddy in Helen, Warren, says, I saw you recently uploaded a Destination OG hiking guide.
Yeah.
But me and you should film a Places to Cruise ride going over Blood Mountain or through Hiawassee Mountains next to Helen.
Yeah, I have a video on that too up there. Yeah.
We're way ahead of you, Warren. Jassim says, hi, OG team. Is Inside the Hex site fixed yet? I'm connected with Daniel because I can't gain access to the site. Won't let me log in. Either way, love the content and OG follower for life. No, we're still working on it, Jassim. We're actually looking into something new to replace the crappy one that we're having issues with now. Let's see. Mike Bellows says, hey, Matt, when should you use a wool pad versus microfiber?
It's hard to tell. Sometimes you just try it and see if it works better. Wool will have less heat transfer, so you heat up the panel less. So if there's paint that you think may be thinner, or paint that you think may be more finicky, I find that wool tends to be a little bit more forgiving. But really, to me, it's just kind of trial and error. I don't think there's any real solid rule, at least no rule that I've come up with. I don't think there's a solid rule of which one to use and when. But again, it's just some paint systems seem to do better with wool, so I just tend to try it. When you're doing your test spot, you'll kind of try and see which works better.
Jeffrey Robert wants to know, would you ever consider a Mercedes AMG GT?
No, just because of the automatic. If they had a true dual clutch, or if they had some manual version, I think it's probably a pretty decent car. The other thing, I don't love cars with big hoods. Like a giant, it's literally the size of a king size mattress, the hood. So I don't love that kind of. It always makes me feel like I'm out of control. I mean, even on the GT350, I felt like the hood was just too big for my taste. See, look how big that thing is. It's at least the size of a queen size mattress.
That is big.
Yeah, so I just feel disconnected when I have that big of a hood.
That's a long car.
Yeah, it's just a really long, bulky thing. I get why people like them. I think they sound pretty decent. But again, I don't love the transmission, and I haven't driven one, but I've ridden in one. It's okay. It's like, I think you'd have to be like a Mercedes guy to really want one of those. Or if you're, obviously I'm a pretty boring dude. Like, I don't really like variety. I like to keep things. I know what I like, and I like to stick to it because I can only get so much of what I like. So that, to me, I'm just not a very adventurous person. So that, to me, is like an affair you'd have on Porsche, which I'm just not going to do. Too loyal of a guy, I guess. So, I mean, maybe I'll head down the path of some of these, more unique cars someday when you get really bored. But I mean, I haven't gotten all the Porsches that I want yet. So, Hope that answers it.
Too Cheesy says, before I buy the MK3, do you have any info on a new Rupes MK4 coming out?
No, I don't think there's anything on the horizon. The only thing that would be, I think, my guess would be they'll probably launch some sort of 5-inch cordless, battery powered at SEMA this year.
Cars with JR says, Matt will probably roast me for this, but what do you think about color matching LED TV backlights?
Oh God, no, no, God, no. I headed down that path back in the old rear projection days, not color matched because that's freaking stupid, but like to do, to help with black level. So you would put a certain, sort of fluorescent behind the display, behind the big box, to aid in black level recreation. But on a modern display, oh, absolutely not. It's like that's the equivalent of putting underglow on your car. Just don't frickin' do it. What do you need that for? Or like trucks who have like those lit
wheel wells,
or lit rotors. So freaking stupid.
So you can see the brakes.
Yeah, there's no need for any kind of color changing anything anywhere in your house unless it were detailing lights between different colors of daylight. But even those, like all the Philips Hue bulbs and all that kind of stuff, they're just garbage light. I tried them. They're terrible. The Cree version of them, just terrible, terrible light quality of light because they're so focused on making purple and pink colors. I mean, why would you want that? Remember I did it on here. I thought it might be kind of interesting. And I'm like, what am I doing? It's so stupid. Because I wanted to have some backlighting because it's kind of dark there and I couldn't get a light fixture there. And it was just, I'm talking about like the Cree rope lighting stuff. And I turned it to like 6500K. I wasn't trying to make it purple or something stupid. But yeah, definitely not behind your TV. That makes no sense. Because what you put in combination, you put your TV up freaking 45 feet in the air next to the ceiling. And then you have a couch that's like too close to it. So everybody has to kind of lay down sideways and break their neck to see it. And then you've got some blinky purple lights in the back. That doesn't make any sense. So absolutely don't do that.
Jeffrey McNall Jr. wants to know, will there ever be a giveaway for the Raptor?
I thought about that. It'd be cool to like make it crazy, buy like King shocks and RPG Stage 4 suspension and do the SVC fenders would be super cool. Do a much better bumper than the stupid one that's on there. But maybe someday I'll do something like that.
JForm814 wants to know, is CSL EXO still your first choice in a consumer level ceramic coating?
Yeah, 100%. No question.
Rick Potter says, happy Friday, Matt and Chris. I've heard Matt mention that he started rucking with GoRuck.
Yep.
I've been using my 20-liter 4.0 rucker for a few months. Is Matt using the app or just his own workouts?
No, I'm just doing my own thing. My goal would be to do the 12 mile in under 3 hours. I think I'm not that far away from being able to do that. I rucked the last 2 days in a row. 2 days in a row, really quickly. All my joints are hurting, just because I'm now able to just keep trotting. But I'm rucking with 30 pounds in the back. I feel like I would need more weight. I have a 25 liter, and I have the flat plate, and I have a 30-pound in there. But I feel like I probably need some more weight. The first couple of days, you feel it in your traps and your neck, but then after that, you get kind of used to it.
So it's like a backpack. You just put
weight in it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then because you're emulating like special forces or army, the military where they have to rock with a pack, in training. And I think it's the Army's is the 12 miles in 3 hours is one of the tests to do. And so the thing I like about it is the low impact. You go running. I mean, you're in the middle of this, right? Mm-hmm. Running is just like it can be a thing where like you're like, oh man, I don't want to do that, if you're not feeling good. But definitely. Rucking is just easier to do. It's an easier thing to do because you're not like your heart rate's probably at like 125 beats per minute instead of when I'm running, I'm gonna go run at 170, and try to hold that. So. Yeah, it's a cool idea. I'd love to start doing if we do like a 2 day or 3 day a week after work here, get everybody into it. just kind of go around here. You can go around here and do several miles.
I've got a mile mapped out right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is this? Hold all your nutty buddies here.
Or let's go for a run. I'll wear that and you run. And that way we'll run at the same pace.
All right,
how's your mile time looking?
This morning it was 8:18.
Okay.
So
yeah,
I wasn't getting after it, but I wasn't going slow either.
Yeah. Was the first one like 12 minutes or something?
I was
like
11
basically
something.
walking.
Yeah, I was jogging.
I don't even know how you could run that slow. How's that even possible?
Oh man.
I see all these people, they talk about doing a half marathon. It doesn't count if you walk at all. You have to run the thing. You can't walk. You can't stop, get a drink, go to the bathroom. If you got a bathroom, freaking leak it right there while you're running. There. Otherwise, it doesn't count. Now, I've never done it, but the reason I haven't done it, I could go do a marathon right now if I had all day. You just walk around.
Hours, yeah.
People doing 5 and 6 hours. Of course, anybody could do that. Just get up off the couch and just walk around. Jog a little bit, walk a little bit, get some drink, eat some donuts, get a snack, go to the bathroom, stop and take pictures with people, and then at the end you're like, I did it. I did 26 point whatever. No, it doesn't count. It doesn't count unless you run it straight. Now, if you did it like in 3 hours and 15 minutes and you had to pee or you had to take a crap or something, I get it. that counts. But not like to go over to the table and check in and shake some hands, and take some pictures, and adjust your change your socks and get some different shoes on and say hi to everybody, and then you go jog for another half a mile and you start walking and you jog and you walk. That doesn't freaking count. You shouldn't get the sticker. They should put a little thing on you, and if you stop running for more than a certain period of time, other than some major extenuating circumstance, like your shoelace blew up or something, then
they just yank you out of the race at that point. Just pull people off the course.
Yeah, come on.
Oh man,
that's why I've never done one. I mean, we could literally this weekend we could go do a marathon. You don't think you of course you could do it.
I could,
5 hours.
Yeah, it'd take a long time. I wouldn't want to. It doesn't sound very fun.
Take you 5 hours, just jog a little bit, run a little bit, walk a little bit, walk backwards, do some skips, shuffle a little bit, stop and, get the cooler out, take a little sit down for a few minutes. That doesn't count.
All right, let's see. 17. Let's say you did a 17-minute mile.
How do you even run a 17-minute mile? That's walking pace.
You're not running. That's what I'm saying. You're stopping to take selfies and
17-minute mile takes 6 hours, right?
Yeah, let's see. 16. No, it's a little over. Oh, come on.
Oh my gosh.
7 hours 25 minutes.
17-minute mile.
Yeah.
I don't think I could walk a 7. Like if you're walking faster than that. No.
Well, let's see. Yeah, if you walk 4 on a treadmill, that's a 15-minute.
Well, because when we're hiking like 20 minutes a mile, right? But we're hiking like up 2,000 feet. And so, to hike like 17, 18 minutes a mile is pretty easy to do.
Let's see,
if you walked really, fast.
Because 15 minutes is a 4.0 on a treadmill. And that's like a leisurely pace. 6.5 hours if you did it.
Like, I think I'd fall forward if I was running that slowly. You're not running, you're just walking. You're kind of in between walking and jogging. Yeah, that's it. I'd fall and hit my face.
10 minutes.
Yeah, how long is a 10-minute mile? That's mid threes.
4 hours 20-ish minutes.
Yeah.
What's
so I mean, your goal would be to run an 8-minute mile would be something like a 3-hour marathon, right?
8-minute mile, 3 hours 30 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, that would be anything under 4 hours is pretty hardcore.
8 minutes for 26 miles. That's tough.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're training for it, then if you're not running that, then don't even do it. It's a freaking waste of time.
If you average a 5-minute mile,
shoot! I can't run a 5-minute mile, let alone
26 in a row.
Yeah,
that's quick.
Yeah, that's crazy.
All right, back to the show here. Jason wants to know, Jason, Matt, what do you think of the Porsche 928 and 968, and what options are you getting for the GTS order besides the wonderful Burmeister?
Yeah, I don't really like those cars.
Those older ones?
Yeah, not my style, and those are worth lots of money, I think. So the car is white, just the base white, which I like. black satin black 20-inch, whatever they're called, classic wheels. I'm gonna put signature wheels on it anyway. I couldn't do carbon ceramics, so it had to be red steel brakes, and then I'll buy. I'll talk to my friends at Heinz Motorsport and do a surface transform, swap out the caliper and the pad, or the not the caliper, but the pads and the rotors, and leave the red caliper. We'll do. I did sport buckets, Burmester, black interior. It's the black GTS interior, which has chalk stitching and chalk seat belts, which I think is pretty cool. Just real subtle, real simple. No gauge colors or anything, just the base GTS. I think the GTS center gauge is white, which I don't like when you order the GTS interior package. But the GTS interior package is it's a pretty sweet deal. So it's full leather and then Alcantara. I didn't do. I did the LED matrix headlights. I did the aluminum pedals. I didn't do I think I did light design package, but I didn't do the Power Steering Plus. I didn't do the PASM because I don't think you had an option for dual climate control. Shoot, I better check that. Hope it's not too late. Yeah, pretty simple, but it's the GT. It's basically a GT4 with because it's the 4 liter, just detuned a little bit.
So not the GT4 RS. Just
God, no! I wish. Yeah, no, it's a GTS. 718 Cayman GTS, which is still naturally aspirated. So if you click on Cayman models, yep, and then you click over to the right, it's I think it's 390 horsepower or something like that.
Oh, there you go.
No pinks. No Cayman T's. That's not the Cayman S. Keep going. Yep. Nope. Yep. So 394 horsepower versus 414 on a GT4. It's a pretty sweet car. And I was in the queue for Cayman GT4, Spider, Cayman GTS, or Boxster GTS, and I got the Cayman GTS, so that made my decision up. I thought about doing red with black is pretty sick.
That is nice.
But white is just the way to go.
Coupe, yes.
Yeah.
Not a baby.
Well, I thought about the convertible for up there. It would be kind of cool, but
nice.
yeah, no.
All right, Luke Goodwin wants to know, what are your thoughts on coating after a repaint? How long would you recommend waiting? Any tips, etc.?
You want to ask what paint system is being used, but generally, by the time you get the car back, I mean, it's cured, so you can probably generally coat it pretty quickly. In the old days, you needed to wait months and off gas and all that, but modern paint systems a lot of them will off gas in hours. So generally speaking, by the time you got the car back, you'd probably be good.
Let's see. Jeff Johnson, there he is, our buddy at Nike.
Mm-hmm.
Greetings, gentlemen. Here's a hot take. The Cadbury caramel egg, or Cadbury cream egg, is a top-tier candy.
Oh, yeah.
Up there with the peanut butter cup.
100%.
I used to really enjoy those.
I love you get the 6-pack and eat them all immediately. Yeah. Yeah, I love those things. It's delicious.
Joe Anatone wants to know, hey, Matt, what brand disposable rubber gloves do you recommend?
Ooh, what are the ones that I have now? Shoot. Astroflex? Go to Amazon, and if you're logged into our account, just type in gloves. They're freaking great. We need to get them in the store. It's like those SAS Safety, and they're Astro Grip. They're awesome. They're orange, and they have like the little hexes in the fingers. They're 7mm nitrile glove, so they won't coating won't eat through them. They're great.
There you go, Joe. Let's see. Dom, wants to know, what is your long-term plan for the Helen House? Lifetime hold or sell in a few years?
I think lifetime hold. I mean, nothing's lifetime with me, but I think long-term hold. There's quite a bit of improvements I want to make to the exterior, like painting and things like that, to make sure it stays nice for a long time. But Yeah, I plan to build a portfolio of properties in places that I find interesting, and then have them perform by allowing a certain audience to borrow them for money. I'm hoping that at some point I can charge a little more for it, have a little less people in there, and really, as long as they roughly break even or even slightly lose, as long as they're as long as the property's in a decent place. I think it'd be awesome to have a portfolio of a dozen or so properties in really cool areas that I own, can go to, and then it's something that I have as a potential exit. In that, someday if you had a dozen properties that were worth say $30 million and they were all performing, you might get some sort of small multiple on top of that. So it can become a business that is saleable, that could be paid for through the rent, the rents that are paid. And could and another nice thing about having rents paid is it covers your costs, your carrying costs of taxes, insurance, and all that stuff as well. So I really like the idea of that, and I think that because I don't have interest in real estate, but I love a project, and so having the project is what makes it really cool.
G. Allen wants to know, hey Matt, would you ever consider importing a car from Europe if it was the right spec?
Yeah, I thought about that, like E36. But I don't have any plans to do it.
Luke says, I have the K1622 TS because at the time you were out of stock on the 13.
Well, that was a dumb move, but keep going.
What would you recommend to get more GPM? Just double up or just get the 13?
Get the 1322 and get rid of it.
Sell the 1622.
Yeah. You don't even want to double 1622. You'd want to double up 1322. So yeah, just list it for sale and get the good one.
F. Beamer wants to know, would you consider coming to Germany to take a lap on the Nürburgring?
Yeah, someday if I can drive, yeah. I mean, I'd like to have come to Automechanica, which is a huge product show. I'd love to come to that.
Like the SEMA of Germany?
I think it's 5 times the size of SEMA or something like that, from what I understand.
Mr. Hutch says, hey Matt, I just finished redoing my racing simulator.
Okay.
New products out are amazing and brought down the overall cost of investment.
Mm-hmm.
Would love to help you build one out for Helen. Let me know.
What about, I love the idea of that the P1 Podium is one that Gabe sent me, which is a turnkey solution, which seems to really interest me. Problem is they started at $8,000, and then I started looking at it, and then I was like, well, the $10,000 version isn't that much more, but then that has all kinds of options. Before you know it, that one's at 21. I'm like, well, then why don't I just buy the one that's 28? I don't know.
All right, let's see. Base says, hey y'all, had a colleague at work have an incident removing a passenger door window, resulting in a small scratch. It will be replaced. We had a discussion, wondering if polishing glass is a thing yet.
No. You can try, but you're not going to get a whole heck of a lot done.
Let's see. Romster Monster Motorsport says, hey Matt, what is your favorite NFL team?
Steelers. I mean, I was born in Pittsburgh.
All right. Jeremy wants to know, do you have any takes on the SVB banking situation? Banks are bad.
It's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it certainly isn't 2008. I got a lot of people make a comparison. It has nothing to do with 2008. So if you know what happened there, basically what happened is that the yield on treasuries or the interest rates have risen, and so these idiots had all their deposits invested in treasuries with no risk mitigation, and then as their interest rates have risen, those treasuries are worth 80 cents on the dollar, and so now their main asset that's backing all the loans as treasuries that have depreciated substantially in value, and then they've got below the reserve limits, and then of course there's a run on the bank, and so then the deposits come out, but they can't cover it because they don't have the money to do it, and so the whole thing comes crashing down. I think Credit Suisse is also in trouble, but they've been a poorly mismanaged bank for many years as well. But I don't think that in general it's not systemic. There's just a few dumbos that haven't frickin' managed this properly. And it's so stupid because a rising rate environment is great for banks because now the deposit interest that's paid is always lagging what they're loaning the money out at. So if they had any frickin' brain and had managed this properly, they now have massive spreads where most accounts are still paying 0 interest, and yet they're lending at 6, 7, 8 now. So the spread, their net spread, net of their cost, was 2.5 for many, many years. Now it's 4, 5, 6, 7. So they should be making money hand over fist if they weren't so freaking stupid. And so some of these banks have just got caught with their hand in the cookie jar by being dumb. And then, of course, these goofballs at first, when they said that a bunch of people had sold stock, I'm like, well, people automatically making judgments about what they're doing. I was like, I guarantee they probably just selling stock in their normal selling. Well, no, these goofballs, these jerk-offs, they went in and sold like 30%, 25%, 50% of their stock, so they saw it coming. And here's the problem is that, I've never been a big advocate of go after the rich and, that they're the problem. But this is one of those instances where they should freaking go and take all of that money from those people. And they shouldn't have been allowed to do that kind of thing. You have to register to sell the stock, and they did. But even goofball Nancy Pelosi, or no, it was not Nancy Pelosi, the other goofball from Elizabeth Warren was talking about how, and she actually made sense for the first time I've ever heard her make any coherent sentence, where she was talking about, look, these people can't oversee themselves. That's freaking stupid. Of course they're going to say they're in great shape. There needs to be oversight, but oversight that they have to, adhere to. And then all these people that are depositors that, apparently they're going to back them up. I don't know that that's a good thing. I think what they should have done is just let the bank be gobbled up. Let them, someone will buy the bank or the loan book. Someone would buy the deposit book. And, of course, the shareholders and bondholders are screwed. I mean, that's the risk of investing. And so to bail them out is just bad practice. They really shouldn't have bailed out, stuff in 2008. They should have. I mean, Merrill Lynch should have failed. Then probably several other banks would have followed suit, but they didn't let that happen. Now there was risk that the entire system collapsed. So it wasn't the world's worst thing that they bailed out some of the stuff, but yeah, the fall of Rome sure does seem like it's apparent in our lifetime, in that we're going to have a reset of currency, a reset of assets, because now we have 30-something trillion in debt or something insane like that. The debt is fake money, so they can just all get together and say, you know what, we're just going to forget this ever existed. So the whole us paying back the debt is a bunch of nonsense, or China calling in the debt is a bunch of nonsense. I think the bigger concern is there's a reset, and then the U.S. currency is no longer the currency. But I would argue that UK is like the 6th or 7th largest economy in the world. They live a decent life. They were the preeminent power for a few hundred years. And now they've sort of worked their way down to a much smaller economic power, but there's still plenty of opportunity in all economies. So you just hope that there's a soft landing. The really tricky part is that we're being run by nobody, a bunch of people that are out to lunch that have no business doing this, and it's because that job sucks. And so, if the job paid like $10 million a year to be president of the United States, then maybe you'd get some people that would come in that would really, because the only way for them to make money is them to be corrupt afterwards and go take speaking engagements, and then they make, $100 million a year. But man, the whole banking thing and the people that are in charge, just, gosh, it's a real cluster. But 2008 was very different in that we had inflated the economy by creating nonsense assets. So it doesn't appear that they've done that this time. These are just normal market cycles of the weak should fail. They shouldn't bail them out. You shouldn't have $8 million on deposit with no security, with no no insurance. You should spread that wealth around. Pretty much every bank has an insured savings type relationship where you can insure tens of millions of dollars by spreading it across multiple. It's a type of money market account, or you can buy CDs. You can also be creative in titling. So even though you're only covered up to $250,000 limit, you can title accounts differently, and you can only do so much of that, but you can buy certain types of money markets that would be an insured type account. So to give you FDIC coverage over and above the $250,000. So you shouldn't run on the bank to go get your money. I'm sure many people have. You should call the bank and make sure that you're in the appropriate type of money market account to make sure that you're insured. But I just don't think it's systemic. I mean, Bank of America, J.P. Morgan, the banks that have had to make a market, have been highly, highly scrutinized. We would hope that they haven't done anything stupid, and we would hope that they have hedged against rising rates, because we all knew it was coming at some point. I mean, it should be the most obvious thing. It should have been the entire waking idea. It should have been everything they're focused on for the last 10 years, that rates were going to go up at some point. And some people got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. And so as rates rise, and if there happens to be a run, the house of cards falls. Because banks don't have all that cash that you've deposited. They lent it out. And they can lend something like 120 times or something like that. They can, or 120%. They can lend a large percentage more than what's on deposit. I'm making up that number. It's some number even bigger than that. Then they can borrow from the Fed, to the Fed fund, to the Fed funds or Federal Reserve. They can borrow from the Fed to cover balance changes, and they manage that. And that's how a bank makes money. But man, it's very likely or very unlikely systemic, where it's the whole system is about to collapse. But what we should do is let the system do what it does, and not go in and have a bunch of morons come and bail them out. That's the part that becomes really problematic.
Jeffrey McNall Jr. says that we could run a 5-minute mile if the bear was chasing us.
Yeah, I don't think I could.
I think I'd die.
Yep, I would definitely die. Yep.
Paul wants to know, have you ever met Magnus Walker and seen his garage?
I never met him. I'm sure I was standing right next to him the other day when I was at Amelia, but I'd never met him.
Let's see. This is a bad question to ask you, but I will anyway. This is from Tinkering with Twins. Matt, what would be your recommendation for the best used sedan under $10,000? Yeah. Hashtag balling on a budget.
I have no idea. Not even a clue. Chris would be better to ask that question than me.
LS430. That's the way to go. Lexus LS430.
Yeah, I have no idea, man. Don't know.
Let's see. And serious about the LS430. Do some research. Ryan from Spotless Ride says, came in late, watching now. Greetings from Toronto. Chris and Matt. Excellent. Thanks for tuning in. John Walter says, hey, Matt, feel free to use my term for GM junk. Oldsmo Buick. There you go.
Yeah, not good.
Mr. Hutch says he's all in on his, including the PC, on his simulator for about $6,000.
But see, here's the thing. I don't want to do anything. I just want to buy it and turn it on. Maybe screw some stuff together. I like the cool thing about P1 Podium is that they ship it on a pallet done. I just plug it in. That I like.
I feel like you'd spend $6,000 just on the seat. So, Mr.
Yeah, that's the other question I'll have for them is I don't want a seat made for freaking babies. I want it made for real men. Not little tiny bros. I need a seat that I can fit in. I need a seat that Chris can fit in. We don't want a seat for little children like all these racing seats are.
Cars with JR, Super Chat, our first Super Chat of the day, says, thanks for keeping me entertained while at work. Thanks for tuning in to Cars with JR.
What was my earlier rant on? Some of the CTS junk.
Yeah, CTS, and then what was the other one? I've already forgotten. They were laughing.
Oh, TV LED lights. Oh, yeah. What the frick?
The House Hunters rant.
Oh God, yeah. Poor, ugly people buying garbage houses. You want good-looking, rich people, so that way you have something to aspire to. I don't want to be punching down. I mean, I don't want to be. At least go average. You're looking for $500,000, $600,000, $800,000 houses, not these ones that are just rat-infested crap holes. Freaking unbelievable. Just terrible. You can just tell that they've got just old stinky junk with popcorn ceilings and stuff. what are we looking at here? Or they're like House Hunters International. That could be so cool. And yet they're going to rent and their budget is like $800 US. Like, why are we even watching this? You got to have something to aspire to, for gosh sakes. No, we want everybody to watching. And I just watch it for the ridiculousness of it. Like, why am I watching this? This is terrible.
Spite watching it. Oh, man. Bob has a good point here.
What?
We should have thought of this. He said, you don't have to outrun the bear. You just have to outrun your buddy.
Yeah. Right.
True. Well, if it was one-on-one with me and the bear, I'd lose. He'll catch me. Jose says, what's the OG spec steakhouse near the Helen House? I remembered when Pan visited, you named some restaurant Vomit on a Plate.
Yeah, I don't think there is one. You got to go down to Atlanta or you got to go up to Highlands. Highlands isn't that far. But I don't know. I haven't headed down that path yet to find out. But guarantee you there's decent steak in Highlands. But you have to go to Atlanta, which is like an hour and 20 away.
All right, good. Tinkering with Twins says, good call. Been window shopping LS 430s for a year. There you go. You better buy one now before they get out of hand. Toad has got one now too. So me, Toad, and Waba all have one. Lexus Friday's coming soon.
You see the fire fire station now. They all have Tundies and tacos. Right? They're all Toyotas. I'm sure the guys are really excited about that.
Let's see, Matthew. We spoke about this earlier. Griot's Garage products coming? ? You have an interest in some of them?
Yeah, a few. Yep.
Let's see. Harrison says, I have a Podium 1 set up in my warehouse and love it. Had it for about a year.
Yeah, I think it's this. I don't know. It just appeals to me. Gabe sent it to me, and I've been following him, and I'm like, maybe it's just buy an entry. $8,000 be kind of cool to have. It's going to sit there most of the time, but I don't know.
All right, here's Mr. Hutch's setup, the $6,000 setup.
Yeah.
Let's see if this makes sense to you. My build is Moza R16.
Yeah, I don't know any of this crap, so you're wasting your time. Yeah.
RSV2 wheel, CSL pedals, all on open wheeler cockpit.
It's just not my bag. There's only so much room for crazy, and I'm just not really into. I'm more of a. This would be one of those things where I don't really want to do any research. It's like I'm gonna act like an average Honda Accord buyer, just a regular person. I'm just gonna be a regular bro with too much money, and I'm just gonna buy one that I don't want to buy a $100,000 thing because I don't care that much about it. But I want something that when I look at it surface level, it looks kind of nice. And then I'll ask a couple of people about it. It's like regular people. This is how they do it. That's about my level of interest with a racing sim.
All right, Chandler Welling says, our P2 and P1 sims come with a genuine Recaro racing seat. Reminds me of the seat in my GT3 RS.
Yeah, does it fit a real man?
Yeah, that's not
so if it's like a GT3 RS, then I could fit. But if it's like the Recaro speeds that I have in my frickin' E36, I'm hovering, my hips. This isn't fat, just bone. The bone of my hips is poking. My butt doesn't even touch the bottom. It's just hovering, sitting, kind of wedged in between. It's terrible.
See, that might be part of your problem with driving. If you had the LS430 and the comfort of that giant leather seat,
yeah,
no issues, I bet you. No issues. Squidward Tortellini, that's quite a name, says, in what ways is a 991.2 RS better than a .1?
So 991.2 has a different suspension. So the spring rate is increased and the sway bars are softened. The car has Nakaduck, so there's a little bit better cooling. The biggest difference between a 991.1 and a .2 is the bespoke engine. So they fixed the finger follower wear and the oiling issues that the 991, the original 991.1s had. And so in the 991.1 there was an E, F, and G series engine. But the .2 isn't like an RSR inspired sort of new version. I think does the .2 have dry sump on the other? I forget the difference, but the .2 has a bulletproof engine. The .1 technically has a flawed engine, which not many of them. I don't think any RSs have failed. So you do have an issue with with the technically the engine. Remember, .1 redlines at 8,800 RPMs to help combat that oiling issue. .2 is redlines at 9,000 RPMs. The .1 also doesn't shift quite as quickly. The .2 has really fast, so it has some software changes. The transmission, I believe, is the same, but it has some software changes that make it shift a little faster. It's a little bit more horsepower. Interior is a little different as well with the the display. I think like Apple CarPlay and stuff like that. But I prefer the look of the Dot One. The bumpers are different. I prefer the suspension on the Dot One. I prefer how it handles, out of the box, versus the Dot Two. I'm certain the Dot Two is way faster in every way, but not in my hands. See the Podium stuff? Is that Podium or is that the other guy?
Yeah, this is Chandler. Chandler, I stalked your Instagram here.
Yeah.
So he's the co-founder of Podium Racing, Podium One Racing. So that's, I guess, one of theirs right there, poolside.
I think he needs to get me on the old
then here's their
influencer deal here, and I'm going to sell a lot of these freaking things. And I think they're in Tennessee, so they're not far. It could be a cool little collaboration.
Let's see. I think it's at Franklin, Tennessee, or something like that.
Yeah. So he's only maybe like 3 hours from Helen.
And he says his business partner is 6'2", 250, and he fits the car seat.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm 6'2", 240, 5, 6, 7, something like that. So. Depending on what day, probably 242 today, something like that. So
he says they've got larger seats available if need be as well.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's good.
So thanks, Chandler. Here, we'll check out your page here. Bradley Odette has some steakhouse recommendations near Atlanta: Kaiser's Chop House, Howell's the Steakhouse, and Bones Restaurant. I feel like you've eaten at a Bones before.
I don't think so. Never heard of that.
Let's see. TG wants to know, is Chris excited that they're opening a Buc-ee's in Ocala? No, not at all. That's the last thing we need is a giant
white trashy and
it's like
Mecca.
Walmart and Racetrack got together and had a baby. Buc-ee's.
It's true. It's terrible.
I like the bathrooms.
Do you like my shirt?
Yeah, the shirt was great. Caroline loved the shirt.
It's 2 sizes too small. That was an XL.
I showed your mom. I was like, look what he's wearing. She's like, oh, he looks horrible.
Yeah.
He looks horrible.
Well, that was
terrible.
the point, right? You were like, what's wrong with that shirt? And I was like, what do you think I'm doing here? I'm skitting on you here.
The best was the back. It said the patty don't start till that.
Why would anybody buy that shirt? I saw it. I'm like, let me get one of these. I need to get one of these for a video.
Man.
And then,
that's good stuff.
Yeah.
But no,
Michelle kept it for like, she's going to wear it. Like sleepy shirt.
Yeah. That's what happens with my old OG shirts. But no, I don't want a Buc-ee's. We don't need a Buc-ee's, but
yeah, it's pretty good stuff there. But you can get pretty good stuff at Publix too, and not have to deal with all the riffraff, all the toothless wonders running around there.
Well, you got to park at like gas pump number 948. A mile away. And,
some of the ones in Texas have like 500 pumps.
That's where it started back in the day.
Yeah,
it's like 40 years old now. I didn't know it was a thing until a couple years ago. Oh, man. Yeah, so no Buc-ee's, but it's coming anyway.
Yeah.
Jose says, from the compounds and polishes offered at the OG store, is the cut flow, so he's asking in order here, Rupes Blue, then Jescar, then Perfect Finish?
Yes.
Thanks again for taking questions.
You could kind of slack. You could kind of put Cut Max kind of right equal with Rupes Blue. So Cut Max finishes down a little nicer. Rupes leaves a little more defects behind, but I find that Rupes has a little bit more cut, depending on the paint.
That's now in the store, by the way.
Yeah, I like it a lot. It smells like fireballs, like the cinnamon fireball thingies. Yeah, that's the scent.
Interesting.
It's pretty cool.
Mr. Hutch says his has a comfortable Recaro seat, about the same size as my F80 M3.
Yeah.
Let's see. Will the OG canister vacuum be appropriate for full house use or more focused for garage use only?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I was going to do full house, I'd probably want the beefier version. I'd probably want a 220-volt version, which we can get for you. But it could be. But I would want something on, that's like 30 amp, 220-volt monster, that has a big motor, big 8-inch motor. The one that we're going to be offering is a 5.7-inch, although I was kind of playing with... Grant from Modern Day sent us one that operates at 15 amps on 110 volts with an 8-inch engine or motor in it, and it's quite a bit louder. Now we put the muffler on it, which knocks it down, and that thing has like 150 inches of water lift or whatever they say versus like 110 on the base unit. It's pretty cool, but it is quite a bit louder.
All right, and then Chandler when you were talking about your influencer deal here on a racing sim. He says, agreed. We'll be in touch.
Nice. Let's do it. Yeah, it'll just get me to get one sooner than later. We'll have a room there for it specifically, and then I'll put some theater seating on the backside, and then I think put carpeting in that room, and so looks like Mike and I will be going back up. We keep saying one more trip, and well, we're on 45th trip. Although it is pretty fun up there.
Craig has a good question here about your simulator. If it's shipped on a pallet fully assembled, how are you going to get it up the stairs into the proposed simulator room?
Yeah, good point. I don't know. Somehow I got that 440-pound washer and dryer up there, so we'll figure it out.
I shouldn't read this, but Jeff McNall says you need at least 2 simulators so people can race against each other.
I thought about that, yeah.
Let's see. Supercars of Calgary says, I thought only the non-RS.1 had the issues. From my understanding, engine issues had been fixed already by the time the RS came out.
No, they were just band-aided. So what they did is they put like some coating on the finger followers. But it is the G version of that, but it still technically has, it gets light in oiling it, but again, you're going to have to just destroy that thing. But the G series, which were the stop sale cars, the original ones that came out, my blue one was a G, and even then, like a few dozen of them have blown up, but they've had, probably several hundred that have had engine swaps, maybe even more. Maybe 400 or 500 have had engine swaps because it was pinging, or they just said, we'll just swap it.
Neil White says, in that Buc-ee's t-shirt, you look like fat guy in a little coat from Tommy Boy. Maurizio says, where in Florida would you consider moving other than Lady Lake? Do you have a preferred area you would like to live one day? Good question.
Ponte Vedra is really nice. Most of Tampa, like St. Pete is great. Like Clearwater, I'd probably choose Sarasota is probably where I'd choose. I haven't spent a lot of time there. New Smyrna Beach is really cool. I like the north, I like Orlando North better than I like South. The advantage of South though is that South Florida is not as hot as it is here. It's a good 4 or 5 degrees cooler generally in the summer because you have the sea breeze coming across. But my first choice would be West Orlando. Winter Garden, Windermere. If you got lots of cash, you'll buy a freaking awesome house in Lake Butler or something. That would be sick.
All right, Chandler, our friend at the racing simulator place, with regard to getting it up the stairs, says monitor stand and chassis are separate. Fits through all standard doorways.
Nice.
They've already got it broken down to a science. Yeah, clearly
cool.
they've done this a few times. And he says, yeah, I blew a motor in my .1 RS, so that's not true. Ha, ha, ha.
Yeah. I mean, there's been some that have, and it's generally due to oiling issues.
All right, Randy, this will be one of the last questions here. Do you have any set timetable for testing before you bring in a new product or brand, such as minimum 100-day trial, no matter how much you like it day one?
No, and sometimes the speed at which, like with the stubbies or stuff like that, there's things that happen, or like Krensla's, our original Mossmatics. No, just if I know that I want it, then other people will, and so then we launch. So I'm not who people think I am from an obsessed point of view. I want it now, so I tend to leap. We talked about this in the podcast a few months ago about. People assume that because I'm obsessed that means that I'm very particular, but I wouldn't say I'm very meticulous, right? Like that kind of annoying, I got to know every answer before I ever do anything about anything. I don't have that. I tend to just leap, and then we figure it out, and then I assume that others will do something similar. So, whatever my gut tells me to go, we go.
Yeah, someone asked about paralysis by analysis. If you suffer,
if that was the case, then this wouldn't be here. It wouldn't exist. This is why most people like that don't own a business. You can't. It's too hard. You're better off being working for somebody that is looking for you to do that kind of thing. So I find that very few really successful people have that trait. That trait can be very valuable to someone like me, but it's not something that I have, which people, when they make up a story about, like when people say like you must be really hard to work for, or man, that guy just doesn't have any friends, or whatever. I'm not who they think I am, because they take the gruff, in your face, just say what is so, and then attach paralysis by analysis to it, and you have a really horrible human, right? And so luckily I don't have that from a relationship perspective. So inside of a certain subset of people, I'd argue I'm pretty likable. The condescendingness is the part that gets me in trouble with the average people, but the uncommon people, the above average people, tend to really, I tend to be very likable to them, because I'm not overanalyzing things. I'm just making stuff happen. So the execution part, the making stuff happen, is the secret formula, I think, for my existence, is to do it, say I'm going to do it, and then do it, without too much, without overly overanalyzing it. So I think there's a happy medium between analyzing too much and analyzing too little, and so there has to be a gap there. And sometimes I do a little too little. Very rarely do I do too much. So, but because of life experience and because of my other traits, there's a tendency to get it right most of the time. And so if I waited until I was right all of the time, then I would only have 20% done of what we have done, instead of trusting my gut. But sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes we do some things that aren't correct, and I'm willing to like press all. Press all still needs work, but I think I'm going to be right on that long term. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but we wouldn't have it if we didn't at least try.
Yeah, it's a good question, Randy. Thanks for that. All right, last question here from Luke Goodwin. Got any thoughts on the R8?
Yeah, I think it's a great car, but I've said this many, many times, probably on the podcast as well. To me, the R8 is after you have 12 GT3s. I would get an R8 after I've had a boatload, or if I didn't like GT3s. I think an R8 is a good-looking car. I think it sounds great. I mean, the R8 V10, the V10 R8, whatever Plus or whatever they call it, is really, really cool. The interior is nice. It's super reliable. It's I think fairly priced for what it is, but it's not like my car. It's not my. I could totally get how it's people. There certain people, it's like their car, but for me, I may end up with one someday, but it would be like I think probably a short-lived ownership experience, because I would much rather have a GT3 RS than that.
602 horsepower V10.
Mm-hmm. With Audi fit and finish, so it's the better Lamborghini, if you will. I'd absolutely choose an R8 over any Ferrari or Lamborghini, personally.
Did you get the green stitching on this new Porsche, by the way, on the inside?
No, chalk stitching.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you all for the questions, for tuning in. I think we're back next week. You'll be around next week. Yeah,
should be here. Yep. We're going back up to Helen to finish the outdoor kitchen, and we have to pressure wash the underside of the pool and paint that. Hopefully we're doing the heat pump for the pool for people in the springtime. In the winter, it's not even worth heating. It's too freaking cold. But now we're getting to the point to where it might be a little too chilly with an unheated pool, but we're going to want to heat the thing for people to go and jump around in the pool, especially people with kids. So anyway, yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for being here. We should have it up on audio here quickly as well. And go buy some stuff. So help keep us in business. Appreciate you.
All right, we'll see you next week.
See ya. Keep planning to take a shower and then I don't.